All right, everyone. Let's start gathering it up together. I'm going to hit the gavel. All right. It's 2:05 p.m. Welcome, everyone, to this regular meeting of the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees meeting. It is September 9th, 2025. Thank you all for being here. Clerk Woodley, can you please do roll call?
Yes, Madam President. Trustee Hall.
Present.
Vice President Mayberry.
Here.
Trustee Dr. Nicolette.
Good afternoon.
Trustee Phoenix.
Present.
President Smith.
Here.
Trustee Westlake.
Here.
Clerk Woodley here. And Student Trustee Meyer Hartley.
Here.
All present and accounted for, Madam.
Thank you so much. We, as usual, are so lucky to have wonderful guests with us here today, and one in particular, our dear friend, Kurt Misha. He is the head of PBS Reno. Will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Kurt. All right, that closes item 1.03 and brings us now to 1.04, our land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We acknowledge that some of our educational structures are situated in the traditional homelands of the Washoe, Nukmu, Northern Paiute, Nihui, Western Shoshone, and Nuhu, Southern Paiute peoples. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. These lands continue to be a gathering place for Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their deep connections to these places. We extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live and learn in their territory. Thank you so much. That closes item 1.04 and section 1 in its entirety, and we will move on now to section 2, our consent agenda items. Today, we have items 2.02 to 2.14. Prior to this meeting, I have not received any notice that anybody would like to pull any of those items. Trustee Nicolette.
I'm ready to make a motion.
As soon as I call for public comment, it is all yours. Seeing no other lights on, does anyone have any points for discussion for any of the items or comment? All right, seeing only Dr. Nicolette's light on, but I know what it's for. JJ, do we have any public comment?
I have no cards at this time.
All right, take it away.
Easy peasy. I move that the Board of Trustees approve consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.14.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion by Trustee Dr. Diane Nicolette. We have a second by Trustee Phoenix. Seeing no lights on for discussion on the motion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much, colleagues. That closes section 2 in its entirety and brings us now to section 3, our items for presentation, discussion, information, and or action. Starting today with our first item, 3.01, the presentation and discussion of progress addressing chronic absenteeism during the 2024-25 school year, the Washoe County School District Attendance Campaign, and a proclamation recognizing the Attendance Awareness Month and the many people who support student attendance. This is an item for presentation and discussion. And we are joined here today with Dr. Paul Lamarca, our Chief Student Services Officer, and Rochelle Morello, our Director of Intervention. And we also have wonderful special guests with us from Trainer Middle School, Lucy Dugan and Dana Roberts. Thank you so much. And then out in the audience today, we also have Katie Simon Holland of Strength in Our Community, and from PBS Reno, Kurt Misha, Dave Santina, Enrico Sandoval, and Nancy Maldonado. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, President Smith, Superintendent Ernst, trustees. For the record, Paul Lamarca, Chief Student Services Officer. and I'm really happy to be here today. This is a celebratory item. In early 2000s, the Annie Casey Foundation was doing research looking at root causes associated with academic performance, and lo and behold, they found that attendance matters. It was just earth-shattering research at the time, but it was actually really important. And it led to the Attendance Work, which is a nonprofit national organization, to launch this awareness month every September for attendance. So we're here to celebrate that today, and attendance does matter because high-quality instruction from a trusted adult matters for students. I also want to say that we're celebrating Pillar B of your strategic plan, and I thank you for that. This is an area that is particularly critical for us to have community partners, and so strengthening and expanding family, school, and community partnerships is really important to this work. So I'm very excited that we will get to celebrate a couple of our community partners. Obviously, we have many more partners who we won't be able to celebrate today, but in due time, maybe we can. Our objectives, again, is to talk about the 25 school year. We had great success. You already know that, but we're going to talk about it in a little more detail. We're going to highlight a couple of our efforts from our community partners, and then we're going to highlight some school efforts, in particular one school. We'll surprise you with that a little bit. And then hopefully you will provide a proclamation for the month. And so I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle.
Good afternoon, Rochelle Muriel for the record. I'm the director of the intervention department. Let's move on. I get the pleasure of talking a little bit about our successes with chronic absenteeism. So in support of our strategic plan, we did prioritize under the direction of Superintendent Ernst student engagement and chronic absenteeism. And we did that in a broad way of looking at it within our department and how we deploy our staff and supporting our schools and school-wide. And so we're really lucky to have our principal here today to highlight that today. So I can't wait for you to see a little example of that. But we did that through many different ways of professional development and engagement, and really making chronic absenteeism a daily focus. What does that look like for the school-wide community, and what does that look like for individualized students? And what we saw is success. We saw decreases in chronic absenteeism, we saw improvements in student engagement, and we saw great improvements in academics as it's correlated to attendance. So that's a great success. It's a celebration, and I just want to jump up and down because the entire district did an incredible job and lots of hard work around that. So we recognize that we are seeing great improvements, but we still have a lot of work to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that could look like. So back in 2024, we presented our comprehensive plan around chronic absenteeism, and what we wanted to do was create a multifaceted comprehensive plan that looked at the broad range of how do we support schools, how do we provide professional development, how do we deploy our attendance officers and our re-engagement specialists so that every school has an attendance officer and re-engagement specialist that supported their needs. How do we provide strategies and interventions? So we developed toolkits for principals and school staff to access different resources, ideas, programs, and interventions that were research-based, and we provided training around that. And then we worked really hard to develop community partnerships because we know we can't do this alone. Sometimes the reasons why students are missing school is because there's something happening, there's a barrier. And so one of those examples is RTC, who provides free transportation for students now. So those community partnerships are key to us being successful.
So we're now going to talk about one of our partnerships, and that is with PBS Reno. And I know Michelle Anderson really wanted to be here for this. She really wanted to be on her vacation a little bit more. So we're left doing this, and that's okay. But you may remember a little over a year ago, Strengthen Our Communities and the Community Task Force, they partnered with PBS to do sort of an informational piece around attendance and the importance of going to school, and they disseminated this through our Spanish media. So we'd already had this kind of ongoing relationship, and then Mr. Kazmierski, we all know how tenacious Mike is. He was working with the state and secured some funding for the school district, which enabled us to enter into a contract with PBS, and from that spawned this Great Things Happen When You Show Up campaign. So we're going to show you this YouTube clip, I think.
In a minute, we have a couple more.
No, that was it.
If you're a kindergarten parent, you want great things for your child, and so do we. And those great things will happen if they show up to school.
Kindergarten is the starting line for your child's education, and it builds the foundation for success in school, yet it is the most challenging for student attendance.
And that matters because even missing a small part of the day means your child is losing valuable instruction. And by first grade, we can see the difference.
So show up for your child by taking kindergarten seriously, because great things happen when you show up.
So we have a couple of those pieces. I think you may have seen that before. There's a couple of our outstanding elementary principals. There's a large focus around kindergarten. That's an area that we really need to show some improvement in, and we've got some legislation that affects that. I would like to invite Kurt Misha up to maybe make a couple of comments. PBS is great partners with us on the consent agenda. You just passed a nice item in which another partnership with them was put forth. So Kurt, would you join us?
Welcome, Mr. Misha.
It's already on. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this campaign. It's vitally important, as we all know, to our students and what we do. I have with me today three people who helped make this campaign possible. Nancy Maldonado, who is our Vice President of Education. Next to her is Dave Santina, who is our Director of Local Content. Dave and the gentleman in front of him, Enrique Sandoval, are two of our award-earning producers who did the heavy lift, who did the recording and the editing and made sure that these announcements were distributed. We ran them here, and we ran them in Las Vegas on Vegas PBS with a version specified for them. You might be interested to know that since the campaign began, we aired on all three of our channels 4,187 announcements. What you saw there ran 4,187 times. That's a value. If we were to put a dollar value on that, it would be in excess of $114,000 that we provided for this campaign. We also went, thank you. But wait, there's more. We partnered with Colonel Mike Kesmersky, represented today by Katie Simon Holland, with the Strengthen Our Communities campaign. We provided these announcements to the Nevada Broadcasters Association, which has a statewide program to air public service announcements like these on all of the television and radio stations in the state. To date, the broadcast community, radio and television statewide, has run a total of 13,546 of these announcements. And so we're seeing the impact here, certainly, and statewide. This is all part of the public service that we provide. We're proud to do it. It's central to our mission as public television and public service media. And we're very grateful for the wonderful work and the partnerships and the opportunity to do this work on your behalf.
Thank you. And before you go, I just want to also say thank you so much for demonstrating the importance of public television here in our community. You just gave us a dollar amount that goes beyond what we could have ever done, and then the reach and the connections that you have to bring out this important message. And this is exactly what public broadcasting is really all about, for the public benefit. So thank you. Superintendent Ernst.
Thank you, President Smith. On behalf of Washoe County School District, just want to extend our gratitude for all of the collaboration that we have together. To see the impact that it's having on our students and our families is tremendous, and we so appreciate this type of community partnership, recognizing the impact of chronic absenteeism for the entire community. So thank you very much.
We're all in this together, and we're glad to play our part. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
So Dr. LaMarca, before we go on, you said something that was really interesting. And so can you go back and just expand a little bit on, so it's kindergarten. Kindergarten traditionally has the highest chronic absenteeism. That's interesting.
Among our elementary grades, it
Yes.
does. So it really, if you look at some of our graphs, you got kind of a spike in kindergarten, it kind of comes down, and then it goes really high in 11th and 12th grade. And both ends, kindergarten because of mandatory school age, and then in grades 11 and 12 because of some of the rules around seat time, those are hard nuts to crack. So we really need all kindergartners to have to go to school. That would be legislation I think we should either sponsor or have a legislator sponsor. We need to fix that junior-senior issue too. We have severely chronic seniors who are receiving advanced diplomas. So that tells you that that metric is not, it doesn't help us get better at that particular grade level. But kindergarten is really important. It's also important because the earlier you build those habits, the better off you are. And it's hard for parents sometimes to understand how important early childhood education is, but those gaps they're pronounced as we move on. Students who are not ready in middle school are rarely ready once they get to high school. So I could go on that, but I won't. So now I'm also very excited because I'd like to talk a little bit about our task force, strengthen our communities, and our amazing leader, Katie Simon Holland, who will hopefully come up and share a couple words as well. So as you know, Mr. Kazmierski and Katie Simon Holland and others, some very good partners, they put together this task force to support the district, recognizing that learning is critical to the community as a whole, not just to the school district. So they know that they have a part in it, and they've been working hard. They set priorities. They've met all their marks. They're in it for the long haul. Because of them, we've been able to expand some of our community and schools programming. We've been able to expand our middle school engagement programming. We've stabilized some of our FRC funding, and I know that they have their eyes set on expanding family resource centers if possible. And they've done a number of other smaller things that are less visible but are equally important. I'm very excited. Mike and I met with Community Health Alliance last April, I think it was. Rochelle was part of that as well. We started a kind of a relationship, and now this year we are actually having a more formal relationship where kids in the Sparks area and several of our schools will have access to Community Health Alliance on any day that they need it to receive medical care. And really that's in an attempt to get them back into school as quick as possible. I think that's really exciting, and there's other things that might grow from it if it works, and we'll find out if it works. He also has been instrumental in stimulating a partnership with the city of Reno. We don't know exactly what that looks like quite yet, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But these guys are helping us, so they're tremendously important to the school district. So with that, I'd like to ask Katie to come up and maybe say a couple words, and just to say thank you to her for all of what she does.
Well, we always love when Katie Simon Holland comes up here as well, a former gavel holder here herself with our Board of Trustees, former President. Clerk Woodley? Oh, no, okay.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. Katie Simon Holland for the record. And thank you, Paul. I hope I can rise to the expectation here. I do want to, first of all, acknowledge Mike Kazmierski. As you said, you know, he never lets go of anything. He's in Las Vegas today actually fundraising for our efforts. So hats off to Mike. He brought the community task force together, and we had a tremendous amount of support. You know, when Mike calls, you pick up the phone. And so everybody picked up the phone and said yes, including your staff, who has done a tremendous job. And I want to really thank the staff team, Paul, Rochelle, everybody who's worked on it, and everybody throughout the district, including the leadership of the superintendent, who said this is really an important thing. None of this would have happened without the staff welcoming the community as partners in this effort. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. And so I really want to acknowledge the staff for that. I really want to acknowledge all of you as well. When we started this effort, we did research across the country to see what else was happening with chronic absenteeism in other districts in the country. And we could not find a single community in the United States who had done what we've done, which is to put together a community task force to say, we all own this. This is not truancy. This is poverty. This is difficulty with transportation. This is, I'm not the one that gets to wear the shoes to school today. There are a tremendous number of problems that contribute to chronic absenteeism. We know that, and we all own it. So thank you for your leadership and owning it and making it an important message in your district. I also want to thank those community task force members. That included the Children's Cabinet, Washoe County Juvenile Services, Washoe County Human Services. It included folks from the courts. It included a member of the State Board of Education. It included communities and schools. Everybody came when they were asked, and everybody did what they said they would do. And, you know, that doesn't always happen, and so we're very grateful to them for all that they've done. And a big shout out to the Ed Alliance. I don't know if Sarah's here today. Sarah Gobbs-Hill and her leadership has really put the Ed Alliance on steroids, and we're very, very thankful for all the work she's done. And we even had a private school representative as part of our task force. We actually reached out to Doral Academy and said, you guys aren't having the problem we're having. Why is that? Help us. And so it's been just a tremendous partnership of a lot of good folks. PBS, again, you've heard the tremendous leadership from PBS. Again, we live in a special place, and I think we all know that. But when PBS steps up the way they have, and our community task force stepped up the way they have, you just don't find that elsewhere. And so we're very thankful for that. And last, I want to thank our donors. We have right now in excess of either in the bank or commitments for more than $1 million that we have raised to help this effort. And so I really want to thank them, particularly Michael and Tammy Dermody, who stepped up years ago and said, if we were going to give a tremendous amount of money to the school district, what would it be for? And you all pulled together. I'm sure your deputy superintendent and superintendent were part of that effort, the leadership team. Neil, you might even have been part of some of those conversations. But wait, Neil would say. But really, the leadership team got together and said, if there was one thing we could do that would make the most difference in keeping kids engaged in school, it would be to get that engagement specialist person or re-engagement specialist person in middle school. And so the Dermodys really stepped up and have been champions for that effort all the way along. Want to also thank Phil and Jennifer Satchery, who have made a huge commitment, Bob Listner, Sandy Raffaelli, Rick Riviglio, many other donors, foundations have come to the table to make sure that we can, to the extent possible, give you all what you need to make this happen. So as Paul said, this is an ongoing effort. We will not rest. We are in the middle of a 3-year campaign because we know you can't just raise this money for 1 year. You have to have a sustainable future. And at the same time we're raising it now, we're trying to help figure out what that sustainable future looks like. And I'm grateful for all the work that's been done, and I'm grateful to have been welcomed to be a small part of it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
So I have one, and it's also an observation, because something that I have observed in the community is the change in the narrative around chronic absenteeism. I don't know about all of you, but it's also some of the public comment we got. People would come forward when it came time to talk about chronic absenteeism, kids aren't in school. What would they say? You should suspend them. And it was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But do you notice how the tone changed from punitive to what support are we missing? What are we looking for? Can you share a little bit about why that's important, that there was a lot of, these kids should be suspended, their parents should be thrown in jail. We've changed that. You've changed that for our community to how can we support? What are the challenges that we don't see that we need to be paying closer attention to? Can you expand a little bit about why those punitive approaches don't work? Because I know it's a part of the success we're having.
It absolutely is part of the success. And And every time I have a conversation, people will often say, gee, what are you doing now? You know, what are you working on these days? And I'll say, I'm working on chronic absenteeism. And they'll say, oh, you mean truancy? And I would say, no, that's not the problem. The problem is that we have so many issues for our children. You know, I mentioned a few earlier. One of the ones that we haven't talked about yet is mental health and bullying. If a child is afraid to go to school, and I will say some very dear friends of ours, mom is not very fluent in English. She struggles with working with the school, and she knows that I'm connected to the school district somehow, and you know, will show up at my house sometimes and say, through her daughter, that my boy has been beat up at school. Actually showed me a video of what had happened, and you know, got in touch with some of your staff and worked on it right away. But saying that that kid is a bad kid because he's afraid to come to school is not the solution. And as you said, suspend them? Well, they're not in school already. You know, what's the punishment for them there? So we did learn a lot about that. And even as far back as when I was working as the county manager in juvenile services, we were working on that kind of shift in the paradigm that we have to reach out and embrace these children. They are not bad. They have bad circumstances. And we are the adults in the room. And we have to help figure out, kid by kid, and this district was early in saying, you know, every child by name and face, and now it's more to graduation, we have to know about those children. And so the re-engagement specialists are there to do that. Family resource centers are a huge part of that, to make sure that we're wrapping those kids and those families in every resource that they could possibly benefit from. I'm a huge champion for the family resource centers, and I'm a huge champion for getting some other people to help pay for it. I'm on a mission with the county, and I'll be working on whoever is the new county manager. but we are the only district in the state that supports the family resource centers through the schools. It's done through philanthropy in other places. It's done through the county in other places. It's done just as a state operation in some places. So it's wonderful that the district provides that service and provides those facilities. And we've seen it go from, it was 10 at one point, wasn't it, in Washoe County? We had 10 family resource centers, and now this year we have 5. And that 5 was hard to come by. So I don't have all the statistical background on answer to your question, President Smith, about, you know, what has changed and how do we know that this is a different approach and it works. But we know from the results that we've gotten. And kudos to all of you for achieving this. I'm so proud of this district for what you have done, and so proud of this community, proud to be part of stepping up to make this happen. So thank you.
Thank you. I think you more than answered the question. And also, I can't miss the opportunity to say thank you for mentioning our promise, because you are also exactly demonstrating why Dr. Diane Nicolette advocated that we include that we will deliver on this promise in partnership with families and communities. This is why I think you advocated for it, so we're watching it play out. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I'd also like to just take a moment on behalf of Washoe County School District to thank you. Anytime we have Katie Simon Holland as a champion of work that is being done, we know good things are going to come. And to see the impact that it's had, the work that our staff has put in, and that's every person in our school district committing to this cause, and to see the progress that we have been able to make, and to know how it is impacting academic outcomes and impacting lives. And these are really, really important aspects in the work we do. So I just wanted to say thank you very much on behalf of all of us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to share the previous slide on the community task force, tangible results. I just want to share that they really are tangible results. Some people might see that list of different community resources and think, well, what's the connection? I have a personal experience. I had, when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I had a FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center, similar to Community Health Alliance, that came into my public school, and they gave free eye exams. and I actually got my first pair of eyeglasses, and I had no idea what was up on that chalkboard until I wore my glasses, and that made a real difference for me. So thank you for that.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about school-based efforts and what worked. What were some of the strategies and interventions that we provided across the district? So what we found, and with the schools that made the most significant decreases in chronic absenteeism, is they focused on attendance on a daily basis. They collaborated with our intervention department, and hopefully Lucy will tell you some of those stories about looking at their chronic absenteeism data and really examining it and thinking about it. And we joked that, looking at chronic absenteeism data is like when you're trying to lose weight and you are on the scale every day. Maybe, that can be frustrating, but the amount of work that our school staff put into really building relationships, establishing one trusted adult, everyone had a role in schools that really focused on this effort, making those positive phone calls so they can connect to families, to build relationships and bridges with families, to partner with families, to do celebrations when we saw improvements, to do home visits when we needed to reach out with students, to really connect students with extracurricular activities, athletics, clubs, anything that really engaged and really promoted the love of learning for students. And just that welcoming culture where students felt like they were a part of the community. Those were some of the things that we really saw making great impacts for students and their families. And I'm super excited now to introduce Lucy Dugan and Dana Roberts from Trainer Middle School. She's going to talk to you a little bit about this, but one of the things schools did was really think about innovative ways that their school needed, those strategies or those interventions that their school needed. And for years we've had walking school buses, and it was a strategy around safe routes to school, right? But what we found is this is a really great way to think about attendance too. And so I'm going to let Lucy set this video up, and then you're going to get to see it in action.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me back. This is Dana Roberts. She's my assistant principal. I also call her the attendance queen. Sorry. She played a huge role in our 10% decrease in chronic absenteeism last year, and the plan is to do it again this year. So one of the ideas with this walking school bus was over the summer, my registrar was talking to parents and getting them registered for school this year, and parents were concerned about the walk zone and their kiddo, specifically sixth grader, who was going to be walking possibly 2 miles to school, and parents not being super comfortable with that because there wouldn't be a school bus. And we kind of kept hearing these conversations happening throughout the summer. And we had conversations last year about and looking at data of like where were our kids who were chronically absent. And what we found working with Doug Taylor from attendance was most of our chronic absenteeism was coming from our walk zone. It wasn't coming from kids who were using the school bus. It was coming from right around our school. And so thinking about that, and then how do we make parents feel safe sending their kids to school? We were kind of bouncing back and forth ideas of trying to figure this out, and we came up with the walking school bus. And so the walking school bus is about half a mile away from Trainer is Pat Baker Park. And so we did this big campaign over the summer to let parents know and let kids know that for the first 2 weeks of school, we would meet them at Pat Baker Park, and then we would all walk to school together, and then we would continue it for every Friday after that. And so parents were really excited that there would be an adult walking with their kid. They were really excited that we were going to teach them how to cross Audie Boulevard. And we started on the first day of school. We had, 15 or so kids the first day. We had about 50 kids on Wednesday. And then it's been around 20 kids since then, which has been really great. It's one of my favorite things now on Fridays to start the Friday morning. It's nice and cool and fresh out, and we get to take a nice little walk. And it's also been a really lovely way to get to know some kids outside of school. Learning about, this kiddo loves baseball, and does he want to play catch with me at lunch? And I was like, I don't think that's going to be a great idea for you, because that's not me, but I'm going to cheer you on. And so it's just been a really fun way to get to know kids outside of the building. And so this clip is a news story that Colo 8 News did on our walking school bus.
Well, kids at Trainer Middle School are taking part in a fun new way to get to school. Check out this walking school bus. Every morning, kids and adults meet at Pat Baker Park and make that 10-minute walk to the school. The principal, Lucy Dugan, saying it's in response to families who have raised concerns about the walk zones for the school, especially crossing a major street like Audie. So along the way, they talk about pedestrian and crosswalk safety, but Dugan says there are other benefits.
The other thing I'm excited about is that, a lot of our sixth graders don't know everybody, and so if they have a meeting place here, it's a way for them to make friends and then walk together all the way to school so that they feel safe.
The adults also get the chance to talk with the kids in a less formal environment, get to know them a little bit better. Principal Dugan saying the idea is to improve the school's absenteeism. In fact, last year they improved it by 10%, so this year they're trying to do that again. The walking school bus will take place every day for the first 2 weeks of school and then every Friday through the school year. The youth build
is 85 pounds.
It's a routine.
Did I spy Trustee JJ Phoenix in that too?
Yes.
I saw
we
that.
had a number of trustees join us, which was really fun. And Deputy Superintendent Tiffany McMaster joined us a few times. So it's been really fun. You're all invited Friday at 7 a.m. I know it's early, but it's a good way to start the day. One thing I will say is kind of our goal, too, was that by the end of 2 weeks, the kids would kind of know each other so they could meet on their own and come to school together and just have a group. And the third week of school, I was driving to work, and it was 7, and right on Audie, there was a group of about 6 kids all walking together who are normally part of the group, and I was like, oh, it worked, yay! So it's been really nice. And we have donuts every once in a while on Friday, so if you need a donut, feel free to join. But yeah, it's been a really lovely thing that we've added to support our attendance this year.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Do we have News Channel 8 here? Is that one of the, no? Well, if I'm sure you're listening, thank you so much for that, because we can't alone just tell these stories and make sure that people are aware, and so it's incredibly important that our local journalists also help share these stories as well. So thank you so much, of course, to everyone that we have here, and then for News Channel 8 that is hopefully watching right now.
And 2 and 4 also were there that day, so it ran on all of 2, 4, and 8, which was really great. And that was all Dana Robert helping set that up and really push that with our families, and yeah, invited all of you. Team effort, yes. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Madam President. Lucy, Dana, you guys, the excitement that you ladies have, the energy that you have, it's amazing. I really appreciate it. And I tell you what, for the next one, you tell me how many dozens and I'll bring the donuts.
Deal, you got it.
I just want to say that, well, first of all, this is amazing, but I just feel like we need to celebrate again the percentage that you guys improved. So can we just have a...
Thank you. We worked really hard, and on the previous slide, it was talking about, there was a bullet point about talking about attendance with kids. And I do a Zoom meeting with our whole school every Monday, so it goes into their advisory classes. And there's a slide every single week about chronic absenteeism, and I pull the report from Big, and I have the pyramid, and I say, like, hey, we want to get everybody in green, and some of us are in yellow, and some of us are in red, and here's what we're trying to do. And so we are constantly putting that data in front of our kids and in front of our families, and so that really helps with our attendance. Yeah.
Can I make a quick comment? You should also look at their academic achievement. because it matters when kids show up.
I do believe that Superintendent Ernst did some celebrations of trainers specifically at the Back to School Principals Academy. Yeah.
We sure did. There's good things happening.
I was trying to cue you on that.
Yeah, I mean, the efforts that are being put in from the administrative team to the staff, the connections with the community, the outreach that's occurring, and overall connections you're making with kids makes them want to be a part of that community. And when they're a part of that community, they're thriving, and they're making not just proficiency gains, but they're growing towards proficiency as well. And so very grateful for your leadership and for the work that's being done at Trainer Middle School.
Okay, I would highlight that there are so many examples like this across our district of really great, amazing, innovative things that schools are doing to really think about attendance differently. And so kudos once again to Trainer Middle School staff. And with that, September is National Attendance Awareness Month. This is timely. And so we are concluding our presentation at this time, unless you have questions, and we will turn it over to all of you for the Superintendent's Proclamation for this month.
Thank you, Madam President. No, just a comment. I want to thank everybody that's been involved with this effort. It truly takes a village, and I'm very grateful for Katie Simon Holland and Mike Kazmierski and all the respective donors and our team that's in front of us, and really inspired by the walking school bus. Thank you, Principal Dugan. You know, the walk zones are always a challenge. It's you know, you have to draw the line somewhere, and some of our neighborhoods are easier than others, and so I'm grateful that you're stepping up at Old Dark 100 to make sure that our kids get to school safely. So thank you for all your efforts. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
You get to read yourself.
All right, so I get the opportunity to read our attendance proclamation. So we'll go ahead and read that. Whereas good attendance and student engagement is the cornerstone of student learning and graduation. And whereas promoting attendance relies on students and their families experiencing connectedness to their school. And whereas taking a positive problem-solving approach to reducing absenteeism requires data-driven decision-making, positive and consistent communication with our families, creative and effective strategies and interventions. And whereas improving attendance and reducing absenteeism takes schools, the school district, families, and community partners working together to identify and address factors contributing to students missing schools, particularly a lack of access to resources, mental and physical health services, and access to basic economic supports, including food and housing. Whereas students are more likely to attend when these four conditions for learning, physical and emotional health and safety, a sense of belonging, connectionness, and support, academic challenge and engagement, and adults and peers with social emotional competency are in place. And whereas chronic absenteeism is a signal of unmet needs, and increasing student attendance requires a comprehensive approach that begins with prevention and early intervention and adopting trauma-informed practice rather than responding with punitive action. Now, therefore, I, Joe Ernst, Superintendent of Washoe County School District, do hereby proclaim September as Attendance Awareness Month in the Washoe County School District, and continue to urge our community partners to collaborate with the Washoe County School District on improving absenteeism in our school. Thanks to all.
All right, well, let's get everybody up to take a photo. All right, everyone. While we're all moving out, I'm actually going to call a 5-minute recess while we get ready for the next item. So we'll be in a brief 5-minute recess. All right, everyone. I think everyone's all ready.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Silly question, wasn't it?
All right. All right, folks, I'm going to call the meeting back to order gently. All right, it is 3:01 p.m. on this Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, and I would like to call back to order this regular meeting of the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees. Prior to the break, we closed item 3.01, and we will now continue on with item 3.02. This is the presentation and discussion on Washoe County School District programs and supports provided to students who are deaf and hard of hearing, and a proclamation recognizing Deaf Awareness Month in the Washoe County School District. This is an item for presentation and discussion only. And we have really special guests with us today. Our presenters are Jen Van Tress, our Chief Academic Officer of Student Development, Amanda Applewhite, DHH teacher at Vaughn Middle School, that's deaf and hard of hearing, Dina Adlish, our ASL, American Sign Language interpreter and facilitator, and we have Amy Hicks, principal of Hidden Valley Elementary School, joined by Patty Orr, an educator also at Hidden Valley Elementary School, an incredibly special guest. You're all VIPs, but these are our VVIPs, very, very important guests. Lucy Wilcox, a Vaughn Middle School student, Dennis DJ Salmon, a Vaughn Middle School student, Angela Flora, our Director of Special Education Programs, and Gina Curtis, she's the interim principal at Vaughn Middle School. Thank you all for being here.
President Smith, Superintendent Ernst, members of the board, Jennifer Van Tress, Chief Academic Officer for Washoe County School District. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity this afternoon to come and speak to you about Deaf Awareness Month. We are so excited to have this time. We have several other members of our community and our families and our staff that have also joined that I'd also like to recognize. So we do have we have Lucy's parents, mother, Erin Wilcox, who is also the parent guide and education advocate for Hands and Voices. Thank you for joining us today. We have DJ's parents, Dennis and Susanna, and his sister Alea is also in the audience with us. We have Dr. Megan Swank, who is a local audiologist in the community as well. We also have the future current principal for Vaughn, Mandy Lobkowitz, past, future, current, also in the audience. We also have Melinda Baker, who is the area superintendent. And we have two of our interpreters in the audience. We have Joanna Dunlap and we have Shauna Hafen, got it, in our audience, as well as Giselle Diaz, who is a teacher assistant at Vaughn and a former student with Vaughn in the audience as well. See, I think I got everyone. Okay, so I'd really like to take a moment to thank everyone for being here today. It's such a great opportunity to recognize such a small but mighty group in the Washoe County School District. So we're here to recognize our September is Deaf Awareness Month, and we want to have the opportunity to share with you how our services and our students perform in our school district and give you the opportunity to hear from them. And as you clearly have already recognized, in deaf spaces, applause is visual. So thank you for giving us the opportunity for a visual round of applause. So thank you for joining us today.
All right, so in Washoe County School District, currently we serve approximately 105 students, ages birth through 21. And we do have a variety of communication needs among our students. Some students use ASL, or American Sign Language. Some use a spoken language with hearing technology, and some of our students use a mixture of both. Many of our students attend their zone schools with supports from our amazing itinerant teachers of the deaf, or TODs, and other related services, such as speech-language pathologists. However, we are very proud to offer DHH programs at Hidden Valley Elementary, Vaughn Middle School, and Worcester High School. At these programs, students have the opportunity to learn both English and ASL to best support their needs. They take classes in both general education and in the DHH classroom. They have the opportunity to interact with their hearing peers and also other deaf and hard of hearing peers. They receive academic instruction from the teacher of the deaf in the language modality that best suits their needs. They have instruction in academics as well as DHH specific needs such as self-advocacy related to hearing loss, their personal hearing equipment, accommodations, and community resources. And I'm most proud of all to say that they also have the exposure to deaf adults and role models. We are very proud to have DHH staff members working in our DHH programs at both Vaughan and Worcester. Services for students are determined by their needs, and it can include, again, that general education classes with supports, resource services, or specialized classes according to their IEP or 504. And so joining us today, we have two students representing our DHH programs. Both of these students have been in Washoe County School District since pre-K and have attended the DHH programs at Hidden Valley and Vaughan. Though these students have had similar educational journeys, they are very different in their interests, abilities, needs, and communication preferences. While there is no one right way to be deaf or hard of hearing, there is a right way to ensure our DHH students receive equal access and opportunities and have the same positive outcomes as their peers. Here to share some of their personal experiences, successes, and struggles, I am very honored to introduce two of my Vaughan students, Lucy Wilcox and DJ Salmon.
Hello. I have many different success and struggles in school or home. Successes at school, I have many friends. I'm in choir, leadership, and student voice. I also have accommodations such as interpreters, assistants, and also captions on screens. The reason why I have less struggles in school because of the deaf program and all the teachers and interpreters that support me every day. I may not have many struggles, but there are some, such as kids being too loud in classrooms or other kids keep asking me questions when I'm trying to focus in school. Successes at home, I have many things that help me when I'm deaf, such as captions on TV, bed shaker alarm, deaf fire alarms, like parents and my own brother can sign. I got TV speakers that connect to only my hearing aids, and I'm also like halfway part of the Nevada Hand of Voices. I only have one struggle at home. Is when I'm calling with my friend, it's hard to hear him on the phone or a tablet, wherever. Yeah.
Hello. Welcome back. Hi. My name is DJ. And I'm 12 years old. I was born deaf. I live with my father, my mother, my sister, and of course I live with my family, and my cat. My dad plays games with me. He's really good. My mom is blind, and I help her. When we're crossing the street, I make sure and look both ways to make sure that we're safe crossing. And I like to play with my sister, and I like to play with my cat. And I like that my cat sleeps with me, too. my dad, he and I help each other. I help him with sign, and he signs a little bit, so he helps me too. You know, I would hear people talking, and I had no idea what they were saying. And also, sign, I didn't know sign language yet. A long time ago, when I was in pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade, I was just angry. I was so mad. I couldn't figure things out. Math and English. And that made me angry, and I would just throw a fit. I tossed a desk. But the teacher was sad. When I would go home, I watch YouTube, and I learn. And so when I would watch it, it would just help relax me. I love middle school. The reason I like it is my teacher. I have the teacher of the deaf, and then I have interpreters for the deaf. And also, I'm in a deaf classroom. I love learning. I'm learning ASL. And I love hanging out with my friends and being able to communicate with them. I love learning math and science and English. And also PE. We play basketball. And I love art because I get to be creative. And that's the end.
So at the school site, it does take a multidisciplinary team to support our students. We have teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing who provide that specially designed instruction that our students require. We have educational audiologists to provide access to their equipment and help consult our teams. We have ASL interpreters, as you have witnessed here, that help with communication, both with ASL and also providing the oral voice for students who sign and are unable to provide that voice. We have teacher assistants to help support the learning in classrooms. We have note takers who take notes. We have speech language pathologists who help provide language as communication. We have, of course, the general education teachers who provide that Tier 1 instruction for our students, and then school administrators. All of our goal is to support language access in the school setting to provide that participation and ultimately to support those learning outcomes for students. Access drives our achievement. We remove the communication barriers. We have the ASL interpreting. This is across many settings across the school. This includes the classroom, extracurriculars, IEPs, and even ceremonies like graduations. We also offer captioning, closed captioning on media and district videos. We also have hearing assistive technology. Some of the examples that are listed here are FM and DM systems, sound fields, device pairing, and acoustical supports. As you saw over here, we have visual supports as well and visual systems. So we have alerts, we have agendas, note sharing, and multimodal materials. Staff also require and receive training using microphone use, closed captioning, also devices of the students to make the learning accessible.
So to add on to that, a huge focus of our instruction is language. Language acquisition development. Many of our deaf and hard of hearing students come to us with language delays simply because they have not had the same opportunities to access language as their hearing peers. Statistics show that 90% of deaf and hard of hearing children are born to hearing parents. Of these hearing parents, approximately 20% or less use sign language at home. This means that many DHH children do not have the language, background knowledge, or understanding of the world that their hearing peers have. In our DHH programs, we support language development with ASL and English, bilingual and bicultural supports, auditory and oral strategies, and total communication, which is using English and sign language at the same time. We also focus on not just providing language acquisition, but high-level academic vocabulary, background knowledge, and discourse. Support for our DHH students varies depending on their individual needs and if they attend a DHH program or their zone school with an itinerant teacher. Speaking about my program at Vaughn, students have reading support, math support, and student SSTS or directed studies in the Deaf Ed room. This is an opportunity to meet students where they are individually, develop self-advocacy skills, support language development, provide pre-teaching, reteaching, work on IEP goals, and provide additional support for content in their general education classrooms. Most of my students have a balance of general education classes and classes in the Deaf Ed room. When students are in general education classes, as the teacher of the deaf, I push in to provide additional support. And additionally, some of my students have more classes with me in the DHH room, such as English or science. And I teach these classes in ASL. I teach grade level content, but in a way that is accessible to DHH students. My schedule and the classes I teach change every year because the needs of my students change every year. That is truly the wonderful thing about our DHH programs, that we are not a one-size-fits-all, but always strive to provide our students with the best services, supports, accommodations, and the very best educational opportunities possible.
So all of this falls within our guidelines for Washoe County School District under the IDEA, Section 504, and the ADA. And we make sure that our students have access as close to, or if not the same, for our hearing peers. If you have never seen our interpreters interpreting at basketball games for our students or on the football field, for our deaf and hard of hearing students, it's quite the experience to watch them signing the plays. It's quite an enjoyable time. So please feel free anytime you're at a Worcester sports game to look to see if we have some of our students participating. And then we always, of course, apply the standard to our instruction assessments, extracurricular, and then our public-facing events. So at this time, I'd just like to thank you all for this opportunity, and if you have questions or comments, we would be more than happy to hear.
Thank you so much. Very well done, Lucy and DJ. Thank you. Chief Van Tress, in August of next year, we are opening the new Vaughn Middle School. Can you share a little about how that building is being constructed and the special considerations that it will include for our students who are deaf and hard of hearing?
Yes, I could touch on some of the aspects that I'm well aware of, but I think I'm going to phone a friend, and Principal Lobkowitz. Would you like to come up and share some of the, I'm putting you on the spot.
Principal Lobquist, the once and future principal
of
Vaughn Middle School. Welcome, Principal Lobkowitz.
Just talking about like the supports we're putting in place, our closed captioning with our TVs, all of the equipment all around.
Yes, we had a meeting this morning with Capital Projects. We are working on special equipment for the DHH room, including some special phones that our staff can use. Staff that cannot hear or staff that cannot speak. We are working on so that all announcements, we're having conversations this morning to upgrade the equipment. We were originally looking at emergency alarm systems with closed captioning. We are now looking at getting the announcements, so the school announcements, anything that comes over the PA is beamed into the classroom so that everyone can hear. So we're also working out the emergency for the code red, code yellow, safe camp, the secure campus, so that students who cannot hear have access. We have special procedures in place to make sure our students and staff are safe because we have valuable Eagles with us.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
Thank you, President Smith. I just want to say DJ, I think it's wonderful that your dad is learning your beautiful language. It is a beautiful language. It really is, and it's nice when we can share our language with others, and I think that is super, super cool. So when I went to Vaughn, we didn't have deaf and hard of hearing students, but at Worcester we did. And I know that it was a real lovely experience to be able to learn some of the language and to communicate. So keep sharing that beautiful language. You guys are both wonderful.
Yes. I wanted to tell those two right there that thank you for coming here today and having the courage to speak before us. That is a whole lot. That means a lot to me, because I'm hard of hearing and I understand how it can be. I've been in those positions, so I get where you're at and how frustrating it can be. And to say about the 20% of parents, I hope we can close that gap. But I wrote down here, I want to talk about all the people that are here today. Thank you for what you do. And more importantly, the role model that came back. The person that came back, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You coming back and really pointing out that you're not alone and that we care and that you can do this just like anybody else. And I want to tell you that from my heart to you guys. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, President Smith. Well, I've lost my man card today. This is you know, we're all it's crazy.
You are a model.
You know, we're all, we gravitate toward people that we share adversity with, right? You know, maybe it's hard of hearing, maybe it's sight impaired, maybe it's a disability, maybe it's the color of your skin, your ethnicity, your background. You know, in my case, all my friends are bald. Yeah. I don't know why that's so funny. But so I listened to Lucy and DJ. I don't know sign language. You know, I grew up in a different era. I very well could have. But my parents, like your parents, were real champions. So I'm grateful that mom and dad are here, that your moms and dads are here, and that you have the love that you do, because that's gonna carry you. You know, your disability will eventually become, if it hasn't already, an inconvenience, because you'll be able to conquer some of these obstacles, whether it be speech or your hearing impairment. You know, I was told I could never fly a plane. I can fly a plane. I was told I could never speak. But, you know, I'm a professional communicator. That's all I do for my job. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do. Follow your dreams. I'm grateful that the superintendent and the board president allowed us to put this on the agenda today. You know, every month we honor special groups and individuals, so we want to make sure in 2025 that we recognize our deaf and hard of hearing people and our students and our staff. Truly grateful for our interpreters. First school that I visited was Hidden Valley for that reason. So thank you very much. I'm really grateful that all of you could come here I do have one question, if I may. Can you tell us what the qualifications are for an interpreter for the school district and how they align with an educator?
Yes, thank you for the question. I'm going to phone a friend again. 1 second as we switch roles. Hello again, now that it's on. The state has been raising the bar on interpreter qualifications to make sure that we have qualified interpreters in the classroom. So the qualifications currently are, we have to have a BA degree. We have to take a test called an EIPA. It stands for Educational Interpreters Performance Assessment, and is a two-part test. The first one is a written test. It's just a pass or fail. It's a 3-hour test. Obviously, we have to pass it, not fail it. The second one is a performance test. In this test, we get a score. That score is up to 5, but measured in the tenths to the 10th place. Around the country, the most popular score that is required of the interpreters to work in an educational setting is 3.5. But here in Nevada, we are one of only 14 states that require a 4.0. However, we do have an opportunity for people to be a provisional interpreter. And as a provisional interpreter, they can have a 3.5 to a 3.9. The requirement is that they have 5 years to get that score up to a 4.0. Another requirement that we have is that we have to get 20 hours of professional development every year. However, our provisional interpreters have to get another 20 hours in tutoring to make sure they can get that score up to 4.0 in 5 years. And last but not least, we have to register with the state to make sure that we're keeping up with all of those requirements. Here in this, you were asking about how that sort of compares. Here in this district, we are educational support personnel, but we really align more with teachers in terms of the requirements that we have. We had to go through a training program. We had a preparation program. We had to do an internship. We have to have a degree. We have to get 20 hours every year of professional development, actually more than the teachers do. However, we do not have a licensing board. We do not have to be licensed per se. We do, however, have to register with the state. That is the law. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Along those lines, I have some great news to share, is that Vaughn has a long-term goal to add ASL as a world language, and as an IB school for Vaughn and then leading into Worcester, all students must take a world language, so this will give our students an opportunity to take ASL as a world language as part of the IB program. So help filling our need as we continue to move forward. So some great opportunities there as well. So.
That's nice. Well, she just teed that up perfectly. So my son has been learning ASL. He started in middle school. He actually interviewed Trustee Mayberry for a project and admires him very much. I just wanted to share that I had learned that you can actually earn your seal of biliteracy in ASL. And so I love that we're adding it in at least a couple of our schools, and I hope that we can work on adding that to more of our schools. I know my son is going to be utilizing dual enrollment at TMCC in order to continue his ASL education. So I love that we're working on adding it. Thank you. So I can't wait to see all of them getting their seal of biliteracy. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes. First of all, Lucy and DJ, thank you for being here. You are both superstars, and your courage to come and talk in front of all of these adults and be here is really admirable. I also want to say thank you to all of those here that are surrounding Lucy and DJ with the love that you are. These unique skills that you're equipping them with, and just this makes me really grateful to be a part of Washoe County School District. My gratitude is to all of you, pardon me as well, but thank you to all of you for what you're doing with Lucy and DJ. So thank you.
So I'm going to read the proclamation, okay? And Lucy and DJ, we love you. Did I do that right? Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. So whereas Deaf Awareness Month is observed annually in September to celebrate the rich cultural history, language, and contributions of the deaf and hard of hearing community. And whereas the American Sign Language and other sign languages are vital, fully developed languages that serve as a primary means of communication for many deaf individuals, fostering identity, connection, and expression. And whereas the deaf community has made significant contributions to society in the fields of education, arts, science, advocacy, and public service, and continues to inspire progress toward greater inclusion and accessibility. And whereas raising awareness about deaf culture and the barriers faced by deaf and hard of hearing individuals promotes understanding, equity, and the importance of accessible communication in all areas of life. And whereas it is our collective responsibility to ensure that deaf individuals have equal access to opportunities, services, and participation in civic life through inclusive practices, accommodations, and respect for linguistic, and cultural diversity. Now, therefore, on behalf of Joe Ernst, Superintendent of the Washoe County School District, I do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Deaf Awareness Month and encourage all citizens to recognize and celebrate the achievements of the deaf community, to learn more about deaf culture and sign language, and to commit to building a more inclusive and accessible society for all. Thank you.
And now we will come up to take a photo and replenish all of our Kleenex.
I'm going to get my ready, okay? Ready, okay.
Beth, are we taking a minute or are we going to power through?
All right, thank you so much. All right, team, that was two beautiful items, truly. That closes item 3.02 and brings us now to our final item in section 3, item 3.03, the presentation and possible action to provide preliminary approval for the amendment of Board Policy 4500, District Employee Speech and Initiation of the 13-day public review and comment period. This is an item for possible action, and we welcome with us Kevin Pick from our Chief Legal Counsel's Office, and then Neil Rombardo, our Chief General Counsel. Welcome, gentlemen. Yes. Yes. And I would like to turn the dais over to Trustee Westlake.
Thank you, President Smith. I have a disclaimer, and I'm going to read it so I don't leave anything out, but I just want to say, I want to apologize because this has put staff to extra work, and I can tell you it was honestly a mistake, but I still don't like putting people to extra work, and I appreciate that your diligence so we stay in the line. So having to do with 3.03, pursuant to NRS 241.0365, I'm making the following disclosure out of an abundance of caution to correct a potential open meeting law issue. The board received public comment from the Washoe Education Association related to item 3.03 on today's agenda. I inadvertently, accidentally, stupidly replied to all on the public comment, and in doing so included all of the other trustees. My email stated in response, "This sounds reasonable." Nothing else. The other trustees did not respond. There was no promise or commitment by the board or myself of any kind, and I have asked that my email be placed into the public record and minutes for this meeting. Again, I'm making this disclosure to cure any potential open meeting law issue. Please let me, let's see. please let this stand in the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Westlake.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Smith, Superintendent Ernst. First, 28 years, no crying. That was awesome. Okay. See, I failed. I almost made it. That was really great. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. First, I want to recognize Kevin. Kevin's put a ton of work into this and really worked on the First Amendment. We did a lot of research. We dug back in. And so we're pretty happy with where we landed on this thing. We did receive recent public comment. We also received comment from Trustee Mayberry, Trustee Westlake's inadvertent comment. So we try to integrate those comments as well. And we feel that this product really meets what you all deliberated about last time. And we also feel like this product takes into account what we received from our associations to the best of our ability. We have to remember that we sit as an employer of employees, so there's always a different point of view, okay? And that's our obligation as the employer. I would also just point out that, as I mentioned before, the current board policy 4500 has a lot of inconsistencies that need to be corrected, and that's why we're taking this on at this point in time. And we believe that this policy gets rid of those inconsistencies and meets the First Amendment and meets what we should be doing as public employers. I would like to point out that there was some discussion last time, and I made a slight mistake. I was asked this by a trustee, so I want to clear the record. I said that the First Amendment is the most litigated amendment of the Constitution. It's technically not. It's the 14th Amendment, but the 14th Amendment as it relates to the First Amendment. So the 14th Amendment says that all these amendments also apply to the states, and then the First Amendment is how that happens. So I stand corrected slightly. I would argue that I could still make the argument it's the First Amendment. But I did some research, and it's technically the 14th. So all of that to say, and then also I should mention one last thing before we dive through this. The things in yellow are an update that we did after receiving the information and the public comments over the last few days. So I don't want you to think that we did this in a vacuum and we took what you said to heart. So let's start with definitions. We defined what's a matter of public concern. We defined a private capacity. I'm not going to go through the old stuff, if you will, because I think we covered that at great length last time. So moving down, I know this was the section 4 that we had a lot of discussion about, and so General Counsel Pick Kevin made these changes this morning, actually. He and I spoke about it at length, and then we decided that we felt like this language in B and C, it's not exactly what you all asked for last time. It's actually even more, and it's also actually more consistent with what the association sent in. So I rest on that. I would like Kevin to have an opportunity to weigh in before we turn it over to the board for deliberations and discussions, et cetera. So.
Hi, President Smith, Superintendent Ernst, Trustees. I really don't have anything to add on top of what Chief Rombaro said, but just to reiterate, we did, look at the comments. This was legally correct before. It was legally correct this morning. It's legally correct now. This is just about providing the most robust, easy to interpret guidance that we can to employees. And so this is the product of that, and hopefully it's easier to follow while still being legally correct as it always had been. So thank you.
So for this portion, and before we do public comment, because I have questions, so as we normally do, not always, but as we often do, we start the item with questions and clarifications before we move on to deliberation, because we want to also do public comment, and then we can start thinking about, where we might land on this. So just starting with a line of questioning, just so that we could understand. And I'll start. So I want to say thank you so much for adding the definitions and Section 3 and then expanding Section 4. I am very, very grateful that you did that personally. And so my questions are for my understanding and then also for the public. In the definition of matters of public concern, where we have, I believe it is in the second line, where it says that the terms does not include individual or personnel disputes or grievances. Can you help me understand personnel disputes? And I'll give you an example, because I don't think hypotheticals are fair. Recently, we had teachers come forward from Vaughan Middle School and Stead Elementary, and they came and they gave public comment about their perceptions of an application experience for them. Would that count as personnel matters that is not a matter of public concern, or would it? Because perhaps to my untrained legal mind, I want to understand that specific limitation, if you could.
Sure, and thanks for the question. No, it's that sort of thing would be a matter of public concern. If they had an individual grievance, really the distinction is between an individual grievance. I'm complaining about my boss. It's not a matter of public concern at that point. What is happening at a school in general or the community in general, that's a public concern matter, a matter of public concern. So the distinction that the First Amendment makes is speech is not a matter of public concern when it's made solely in furtherance of a personal employer-employee dispute. That's the distinction. So for personal grievances, personal employee-employer disputes, those are not protected by the First Amendment.
Thank you very much for that. That helps me understand, and then also helps others understand. In the second definition for private capacity, I think that this is a good definition. We did get some public comment that raised a good question for me on the very last part of that sentence. So instead of stopping it as part of the performance of an official duty as a public employee, it goes on to, or which could reasonably construed, or which could reasonably be construed as being done on behalf of the district. Can you help me understand the line there on reasonably construed? Because we did get public comment that said, this isn't so bad, but just stop it just before that part, because there's a perception of ambiguity or subjectivity about where that line is, and clarity for the average person was at least very important to me in this policy. So can you help me understand if it's, and I know everything is necessary, but can you help me understand that a little more, please?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a jury instruction. I took this from the jury instructions for First Amendment claims. Jury instructions are naturally made so that lay people can understand them, and so naturally it was probably the best place to look for it. So when the courts analyze First Amendment claims, courts set down jury instructions that tell a lay jury, here is the legal standard, here is what to look for. And it is one of the legal questions that will go before a jury in a First Amendment case like this, is whether it could reasonably be construed as happening on behalf of the district. And so that is a standard I obtained from cases that analyzed this, and that was the factual question that was set before a jury.
Thank you for educating me on that. Dr. Nicolette.
Yes, thank you. And to that point, that's an excellent point, and I'm glad you asked the question, is that I know extremely well that when you have a board policy or administrative regulations, you don't just put it in a binder and put it on the shelf. Policy and administrative regulations require training and actually regular review and read, so that you can remind yourself of the parameters and the guidelines that help support your work and help continue to support your organization. So it's not like I think most people in the jury instructions, that's a great example. Most people don't spend their lives on a jury. Most people don't spend their lives thinking about freedom of speech. So to be able to provide training is incumbent upon our administration so that our employees understand what it means.
That's a great point, if I may respond. You know, for several years, it hasn't happened in the last year or two, but for several years, and maybe Kevin's been doing it instead of me, I've been training administrators on, and I actually have trained the Nevada Association of School Boards, the Nevada Association of Superintendents, and the Nevada Association of Administrators, I think that's what they're called, something of that nature, or other principals from other districts on this very topic. It's a complex issue, and we do those trainings, though, and we train our local administrators as well on how this works, what to look for, and how to work with their staff to make sure that we're acting consistent with this. But that's a great point, and training is important. And I know now that we have Doug here, Doug Owen, Chief HR, I'm sure we'll be doing that again. So.
Thank you, President Smith. I'm going to read again so I don't misrepresent anything. This is a question, and it's out here for everyone to hear, so I think I'm okay. Does anywhere in this, and I've read it several times, but you know, you go on to the next page and you kind of forget what you read on the previous page, but in anywhere, either explicitly or just assumed that there's a protection in here for employees when they're advocating for the needs of their students, so is it assumed anywhere in here, or is it explicitly that I missed, or is that something that would be more in the administration regulation, or is that?
I think we believe that the new go ahead, Kevin, you probably want to add to this.
I think it's probably in the very purpose statement. I mean, people can speak in a private capacity on a matter of public concern. And then I think in addition to that, it's, you know, to the extent they identify themselves as a Washoe County School District employee, when they do it, it goes into the new 4B, where they can talk about matters of public concern and identify themselves as district employees, saying that, hey, I'm a district employee, I'm an expert on this subject. Here, I'm going to give my opinion on a matter of public concern. But I'm not doing so speaking on behalf of the district. I'm not doing so saying that this is the official policy of the district.
Right.
But, so, yes, it's included really throughout here, and particularly in 4B.
The flavors in there in that. Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. Brief comment, this revision magically addresses a lot of the things that I had also been wondering about. So something for the previous version 3 that I was going to advocate on, and my question is I believe this new version addresses it, is I was going to ask for something that just very plainly got to the point of, by simply acknowledging that you're a district employee, that is alone not disqualifying your speech as no longer private. And if I understand the new 4B and 4C, that gets to the heart of that, because I was going to come and say, can we simply have something in this policy that says that simply by acknowledging that you work for the Washoe County School District does not make your speech, I'm stumbling for my words here, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not public speak. So the act of just acknowledging that you're a district employee does not actually remove protections or make it not private speech. I know that's a double negative. If that makes any sense at all, what my question is I believe this new version 4, if you will, says that now. Does that make any sense? Normally I don't fall over my words this much, but does that make any sense at all?
It does make sense, and as I was saying to Trustee Westlake too, this is meant to generally encapsulate those sort of situations and make it clear, because it's difficult, because what courts do is they always say it depends on the context of how something is said, and it depends on the content of what it was said to really determine whether it's protected or not. So we try to have as most of a easy understood general rule as possible, as is allowable under the circumstances when you deal with a rule that is necessarily case by case. So this is the general rule, and you'd be correct in that.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, President Smith. I had the same question you did, and yeah, it was answer satisfactory. So I appreciate where you're going with that. And so, what if we pass this today? What does that? I know we've done this a million times, but what does that look like in terms of now you would draft up an administrative regulation, it would sort of get into the nuances, and that would go out to the staff for a comment period. Can you just indulge us a little bit on that process?
Yeah, so what the next thing would be the 13-day process, right? For this goes out for this policy, and then it would get, presumably it would go on consent agenda, get it passed in probably the next board meeting or 2 board meetings. We have to do 13 days, probably 2 board meetings. Just, I see JJ nodding, so I'm going to go with yes, 2 board meetings. And then after that happens, we would draft up an administrative regulation. The administrative regulation would go out to another 13-day public comment. And I think it's also really important to note that the Washoe County School District, we exceed the law. The law doesn't require our regulations to go out to public comment at all. And we do that, and we take into account what they're said. In fact, President Smith sent in a public comment on a reg, and she was right, so we changed it today and put it back out for 13 days. So we do a lot of extra stuff here in the district that other districts that are not required by law and that other districts don't do. So that would give our employees the opportunity to weigh in on the regulation. The regulation would have several of, not all of them, because as I've shared with you, they're wrong, but several of the examples that we used to have in the past board policy would become the regulations. Not the wrong ones, just the correct ones. So that makes sense. So if you want a flavor for what it would look at the current policy, actually. Because regs are specific, right? So there's some specificity. This is how we handled this. This is how we handled that. This is...
Couple more questions for the record, and then I see you also, Trustee Phoenix. It's a unique policy. All of our policies are important, but we have really deliberated hard on this in recognition of the gravity that it has. So 2 quick questions for us to understand, for the public to know. When this does go out to the 13-day public review, if important and valuable comments come in, can you confirm that you will give that consideration and then possibly even integrate that? Or I'm not saying it would, but if valuable comment comes in that process, are you committed to considering that and then making any integrations as you see fit if that happens?
We're always committed to hearing our public comments on all policies, and I understand your point though on this one. Sure, maybe it's a little heightened, and that's fair to say. How that would work is if we felt that there was a material comment and something needed to be changed, I would go to you and say, we can't put this on consent, let's put it on general. We would add that in. I would need another vote of the board, and then we would start a new 13-day process, because I don't have the authority to override your vote today. So if you adopt this as it is today, I can't take public comments that come in. But what I can do is, and most of the time, public comments, I don't want to sound negative, sometimes the public comments don't relate, and so we just disregard those, or they're personal, and it's, well, I want to see this because of what happened to me, and that's not how policies need to be drafted, so those would be disregarded. But if a public comment comes in and it's like, oh, that's a good point, I missed that one, or we missed that one, we would come to you and say, let's add this in, and then it would start a new 13-day process.
Thank you for that commitment. The second question was, let's say an employee who might want to write an op-ed, or they may want to speak on a community panel. Is there a resource within the legal office? What does that look like for an employee to reach out and say, hi, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Do we offer that sort of access to employees if someone has a question about a policy or an admin reg for anyone that wants to stay on the correct side of our policies and regulations, but of course maybe that doesn't have a team of lawyers like we do to be able to answer those questions?
Yeah, so our rule at the Office of General Counsel is that we only provide legal advice to administrators and above. And the reason for that is it wouldn't be fair to an administrator for us to give legal advice to a teacher and then not tell the administrator, right? So just sticking with that example, we would ask if, and we do this all the time because we do get questions from folks all the time. And we say, please work through your administrator, and then it comes back to us through the administrator. And this way we're all working together. But sure, we provide that type of input all the time. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Trustee Phoenix?
It's more of a comment here. Thanks for running the drill as far as going through the association, looking at the public comment, making those changes, adding the definitions, going above and beyond. That shows that transparency for Washington County School District and your office. So we take it seriously, and I think that the general public really needs to understand and know that. So when we're hiding something or we're not, we're being straightforward. Here it is. You want to read and weep, here it is. So I really appreciate that, and that's what I really want to make a comment. I appreciate the transparency of your office. And then that last comment about the admin regs, that's my thing. We got the general scope and policy. Boom, here it is. How it spells it out for you. Go through your supervisor if you have any questions. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that you heard that from your office from me to you. Okay. Thanks.
So a lot of the conversations that we've had around this have a lot to do with protections for staff, and one of the kind of points that I tried to bring up, and I believe Kevin tried to bring this up last time, that this is really just about our First Amendment rights. So I just want to put it out there. What other protections do we have in place for employees? I mean, our employees are public employees, so they have I know I was reading through one of our negotiated agreements, and there's a lot of language in our negotiated agreements, and but so I guess my question is, where do employees go? Do they go to HR? Because this now says the responsible office is HR. So if they have a question about their rights as an employee, whether it's about speech or anything, is that who we're going to direct them to get this kind of information? Doug's shaking his head. So
yeah, I think.
Sorry to tee that up.
Was he shaking his head no, or was he
no?
Nodding
He's shaking his head yes.
Nodding his head yes.
Yes,
Okay.
nodding his head yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right.
Thank you for clarifying my speech. So let me clarify my question. This policy is really just protecting their speech rights, but there are a lot of other employee protections that we have as public employees, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Public employees are protected more than private employees. Private employers don't need to have a First Amendment right public policy because they can violate your First Amendment rights. They can tell you what you can and can't do. We could go into sports, for example. They can tell Colin Kaepernick to stand, whether because that's a private company. Whether we agree or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's okay. But yes, there are major protections. So again, how it would work is I think Doug would agree with this. I'm hoping he's nodding his head in affirmance, is that an employee should always work with their boss so that the boss understands what's going on, whoever that boss is. That's just fair to that person. And then work with HR, right? And then the boss should be like, hey, HR, this is really technical. I don't know if I understand. Can you sit down with me and John Doe and let's talk about this, or Jane Doe. And so that would be the best way to handle it, for sure. But yeah, we provide that support all the time. And
that's great.
Again, we get questions all the time that work their way up through the appropriate supervisors. I know it frustrates the employees, and we don't want to do that. We want to be responsive, but we do send things back to them all the time saying, please work with your supervisor. It's just not fair to that person, the supervisor.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that goes back to Trustee Nicolette's point, is that, maybe really working on some training opportunities for not just administrators, but providing some opportunities for all employees to have access, know where to go, I think is probably the most important thing. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, just another follow-up question. Thank you, and I want to again commend you and your team for going through this. I know we've been through the ringer with this, and I think it's somewhat inspiring. You mentioned the 14th Amendment, but I mean, we could probably argue that the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights is probably the most litigated. I mean, if you take out anything north of the 10 amendments, right? So it's so sacred for so many of us. And I think that's why we've gone back and forth. There's certainly a lot of different interpretations, but question I have for you is, and this is why I, in particular, for the second time voted, well, the second discussion, the second round, I voted no, because I was just sort of conflicted with this, if we even needed a policy. So can you elaborate on that? I mean, what's your view? If we did not have a policy, what's the downside of that?
Well, I think, because we had that discussion last time, and I remember President Smith brought it up, and I think several of us kind of kicked it around, and I thought about it more after that. I was probably not at my best spot at that point. Maybe I was wearing out from the deliberations. But I do think that, look, the First Amendment is so complex, and I think it's almost unfair to ask our employees and our administrators to go dig through the body of case law to go figure out what their rights are, when we could provide something like this that at least kind of gets you an idea of, hey, this is what we're looking at, and this is how we look at this, and this is what we're talking about. And then if you look at our administrative regulation, it talks about curriculum, and you have to teach the curriculum, and you don't get to teach it just the way you want, or no political speech at our school, or what I mean by not teach it the way you want is we're not taking away the teacher's ability to interpret the curriculum and do it, but they still have to teach to the curriculum. They can't just say, I don't want to do that one, I'm going to do this one. That's the rules in Nevada, and that would be a First Amendment example for the regulation. Political speech, we're going to lay out a regulation on that. And so it gives employees guidance, and without that, you're asking employees to go online or hire an attorney. I'm telling you, this is one of the most complex areas, you know. Take it from, I don't want to toot my own horn, but a guy who's prosecuted everything from murders to this is a hard area of the law. This is brutal. It's difficult. And so this at least gives our employees some guidance, and then the reg will give them further guidance.
Well, seeing no other lights on, and I don't have any other questions, JJ, do we have any public comment on this?
The board received emails from the Washoe County School Police Officers Association, School Psychologists Association of Washoe, and the ACLU.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to just say thank you to Council Pick, Chief Rombardo. I really appreciate the legal team's analysis, the precision, and really working to make sure that we're balanced in helping our employees and making sure that our school district, as the employer, is in a good place. And so really appreciate the work, not only on this policy, but the policy diet that we've been working on and the other policies that have been updated. These are really important to us as a district, and your work and leadership is greatly appreciated. So I just wanted to say thank you to both of you.
I was just going to ditto that the work that was done on this is incredible, and I've read through several legal pages about the Pickering case and other cases, and I really, really think you did an incredible job of making that language readable. And so I just want to give Kevin a shout out for that, because this is really hard work. And Neil, you are so right. The First Amendment is super complex. You would not think it is, but it is. So I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys taking everything that we said and incorporating the public comment and really pulling it all together in something that feels very digestible and understandable to the everyday person who doesn't enjoy reading legal briefs like me. I know, that's weird, but okay, thank you.
I see two lights on. We're still making comments, though, before anyone's going to make a motion. Is that okay? Okay. The last area, and I am, so I'm just going to be direct. The V4, so good, so good. I had notes, and I had emails, and I had highlights, and I had all the things. which is never a good sign when any of us come in with that much stuff, because we have to be solution oriented. We can't just keep spinning in circles here. You know, we have to arrive at something. And the reason why this is so important is because this is our space. The board policy is the what, and the admin regulations are the how. And then we pass this on to the expertise of the CEO of our district to then administer this. And I think that this version is much stronger. My question is, again, marginally related to matters of public concern, because that's something that has come forward in a couple different public comments. Can you explain that a little bit more for me? I'm still in support of this policy. It does give me a little bit of pause, but can you just explain how it would be determined, like what is marginally related, just so that I can have an understanding of an example of what that means hypothetically? And again, I'm not opposed to it, even though we did get some public comment that was concerned about it. But can you help me and others understand why that's important and what marginally might look like, so that I have an illustrative understanding of it? It's in definitions. It's the very, very end of or only marginally related to matters of public concern. And I think it was in some of the version 3, but I don't think it's in the version 4 in the other areas. So I think you struck it in the second place that it was, and now it is only in the last part of that definition. Thank you so much.
So this is right from case law. You know, there is an exception to, you know, when it's not a matter of public concern, when it's essentially disguised as a matter of, it's something else disguised as a matter of public concern. There's a marginal connection to it. The word marginal is a word that courts use when they define this. And so this is a term of art, if you will, in how courts define what is a matter of public concern. It has to be actually a public concern. It can't be something that's marginally or 2 steps disconnected from a matter of public concern.
So
I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to try to give you an example. There could be Jane Doe, an employee who has an issue related to her employment, but she's painting it as a public concern. That's what you're kind of looking at. It's like, well, yeah, all of us have a public concern in our jobs, but this is really a personal, private capacity issue. So it's only marginally related to the public concern. Just, I know I didn't give any facts in that hypothetical, but that's what the courts would be looking at.
Thank you. And that does answer my question. So this is someone comes forward that is upset that they don't have 5 additional minutes on their break, and then they come and then they're talking about how they're extrapolating this out as we're not treating teachers fairly, when really this is about a dispute about whether or not you have, 5 additional minutes. And I'm, again, just completely making that up, but it helps me understand what that means. And so, as I prepare to vote, that was the last puzzle piece that I needed to understand what this means. So thank you. Vice President Mayberry?
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion. That's okay. Thank you. The Board of Trustees, I move that the Board of Trustees provides preliminary approval to the proposed amendments to Board Policy 4500, District Employee Speech, and initiates the 13-day public review and comment period.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice President Mayberry and a second by Trustee Dr. Diane Nicolette. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion carries 7-0. Third time's the charm. Thank you very much. All right, team, that closes item 3.03 and section 3 in its entirety, and brings us now to section 4, our reports, beginning with section 4, item 4.01, our student representatives report from Maya.
Good afternoon, everyone. So on the 27th, we had our first Student Voice retreat, where student voice representatives from all around the district got together, and we did a bunch of icebreakers, and then we got into some issues that our schools have been facing. The most prominent one that I heard about was safety in bathrooms. A lot of kids feel unsafe because of the amount of vaping that goes on there, and there are often fights in the bathrooms. And I also heard that in Incline, they have vape detectors in their bathrooms. And at Damani, we don't have any of that, and it's a really big issue. So a lot of students were interested in getting vape detectors because it's really annoying when you go into the bathroom and it just smells like chaos. Another issue we encountered was at Incline, they've taken the doors off of the bathrooms. Like, the stall doors are still there, but they've taken the other ones off, which many of the girls have found to be a problem because there's a security camera right outside the bathrooms, and they're a little nervous that people could be able to see into the bathrooms on those security cameras. Other than that, we had a great time, and it was really fun getting to know all of these different students and hearing their different viewpoints because we all come from like different backgrounds. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Maya. Now that closes item 4.01 and brings us now to item 4.02, our board reports. We're going to shake things up a little bit and go in a bit of a different direction, starting with Clerk Woodley, and then we'll go all the way around with Vice President Mayberry.
All right, thank you, madam. I was out of town last week. Today's been a very emotional day for us. For me personally, this morning I spent the morning at a funeral for a fellow colleague from the Reno Police Department. Many people knew him as Sergeant Kazmar, and I knew him as Ernie. And like many of us, he served the public, and while I was there at the service, they had a slideshow showing him and his family and photos of him as a child, and it just made me think about how many public servants we all come across that are out there talking to the public, dealing with the public that sometimes can be emotional in their perspective, can be angry, can be mean sometimes. And I think about not just police officers, firemen, teachers, principals, bus drivers, food services, just all those public employees that are out there serving our community. And I just want to ask for everyone, when you're in contact with these individuals, just remember that they too have a family. They too are human beings. So when you want to respond to them or you want to talk to them with disrespect and cursing and try to push all your anger towards them, remember that they're a fellow human being and they're flesh and blood just like you are. Thank you.
No, I appreciate what Maya said and Trustee Alex just said. It's the sooner we get the bathroom situation under control, the better, because we need them, right? But we're working on it. Just I know we're going to get there. And I had heard about the officer, and it's a shame when people are providing a service to their fellow human beings and they're attacked, they're treated cruelly, disrespectfully, and murdered. I mean, that's the final insult. So I too ask that the public think about what they're doing towards their fellow human beings that are providing a service. Attended the Mariposa ribbon cutting, increasing their student body to 325. Beautiful, beautiful buildings, and I know the other trustees that got to attend, we were just like, oh, this is wonderful, and it's just a joyous moment. And then everything else basically was NASB, everything NASB. Attended a Zoom meeting and discussed public record requests. Transparency and accountability were the two main takeaways on that. And then and then attended with Trustee Nicolette in Vegas, the NASB training that was provided to us. And the two takeaways on both of the training sections was ideas on how to resolve conflict and how to work positive to resolve conflict, and the other to find your inner strength and your inner superpower. So it both great positive training for, I thought, for myself anyhow. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. Yesterday, I had the incredible opportunity to speak at the opening of the very first America 250 exhibit in Nevada. It's a traveling exhibit, and it goes until September 11th at Truckee Meadows Community College in their Learning Center, or I don't know if it's their library, but you know, we don't call them libraries anymore. They're media centers and all the other things. I just wanted to share a couple of words that I said during my speech, because history really matters to me. But I think I think what we experience today, I think is really important to think about. And so one of the parts that I said during my speech was, when we engage with history at any age, whether as students in school, lifelong learners in our communities, or visitors in spaces like this exhibit, we gain essential skills: how to analyze evidence, how to consider multiple perspectives, how to communicate with clarity and empathy, and how to cultivate dispositions like curiosity, humility, and respect for others. That makes us not only better learners, but better citizens. And we saw that in action today with all of our beautiful presentations and the work that we all just talked about, that when we share together as communities, we are better for that because we can learn from each other. And I love these opportunities that we all get to learn from each other. So I just wanted to share that, and I'm looking forward to a bunch of school visits coming up. And so, yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks.
All right, evening colleagues, everybody else here. I can see we have a standing room only. Yeah. I wanted to shout out to Alice Taylor, Principal Kate Still. Did I get that right? Dang it. And then Yvonne Shaw, Principal Dustin Beal, and Spanish Springs Principal Sean Hall. Good energy, great professionals, working with the community, looking to make the changes and following the strategic plan. They have those outcomes they're looking at, and I was just kind of checking on learning. So thank you, Joe, and the rest of the colleagues for setting that stone and keep it moving forward. And chronic absenteeism is #1 on my list when I ask questions. I attended the Mariposa Academy. Again, special shout out to Jenny Hunt, who really rocked and rolling over there. But Jesse and Estella Gutierrez, who did not give up on a dream 20 years ago to make this happen. So I just really really took that one to heart. That was like right on, way to go. And stayed with it when the times got tough. And I would think about how it was 20 years ago. And then going to Alex's comment, you know, being a former law enforcement here at RPD, it happens every day, all the time. And it can wear on you. And so hearing those good words from people like that, that means a lot. And it makes you be thankful for doing the job. So those type of things go a long way. On a different note here, moving on with Alice Taylor, our school recently applied for a grant through Disney and was selected for the Disney Musicals and School Stage Connect. This program will provide students in grades 3 to 5 the opportunity to perform Disney musicals in spring of 26. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So out there at that place there is she said, hey, do you want to be a stagehand, JJ? I go, absolutely, whatever you need me to do. But no, that's something that's big, and I wanted to pass it out to her. And then the last thing here, then I'll make it short here, is that honoring heroes, bingo night, which is on September the 11th, wear red, white, and blue, military, law enforcement, firefighters, nurses, communities, heroes. I didn't see teachers on there, but maybe there should be teachers on there, and I'm serious about that, because there are heroes every day, all the time, that connect with zero to hero, and that's a big thing. So I want to make sure that they get their kudos out there and pass the word. So that's my report. Thank you.
All righty. I had a chance meeting in the Las Vegas airport when I was coming back from our NASB board meeting and training. 4 distinguished Washoe County School District employees recently completed an exciting milestone in the Executive Leadership Academy. That would be Brian Mole and Katie Bender from Special Education Administration, and Richard Mares he's the principal at Mount Rose Elementary, and Jennifer Jimenez, who's Staff Development Coordinator. A little bit about it. Together they earned the distinction of Executive Leader as well as a certificate in Educational Leadership and Management from, hold on tight, Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy. Yet another testimony that those are 4 outstanding people who represent many outstanding employees in Washoe County School District, yet a testimony to WCSD's commitment to lifelong learning. Completed 6.5 hours along with my colleague trustee Colleen Westlake of training through Nevada Association of School Boards, of which we are a member, as are all of the 17 school districts in Nevada. And I want to remind us all about the public records. The NRS 386.327 outlines the training hours that we must have our first year of service and our third year of service. And one of them is public records. So if you haven't done that, it's mandated. So please do that. The conflict resolution that Trustee Westlake was talking about, that was provided by our very own Neighborhood Mediation Center here in Reno with Mark Barrell and Don Rafferty. It was really wonderful, and it was fun. You know, learning, the best learning is you're learning and you're having fun doing it. I attended the Pine Middle School and Virginia Palmer community discussions, Pine Middle School, to look at what's next for pre-K 5, and then Virginia Palmer is getting their renovation started, and it is going to be absolutely marvelous through our facility modernization plan. Say that fast. Also attended the Mariposa ribbon cutting, and Silver Lake, thank you, Renovation, for supplying, donating school supplies and other kinds of supplies for classroom to Silver Lake Dolphins. Thank you again, Renovation Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody behind this dais for indulging me in my emotions earlier this afternoon. I didn't expect that. As soon as I saw the students come up, I think I told the superintendent and the board president, I don't know if I'm going to get through this. So anyways, thank you for making it easy. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for that opportunity, really. Just real quick, I had an opportunity to attend the Milk and Honey event at McKinley Arts Center on Sunday. This is a Jewish cultural event. And I want to give a shout out to Wanda McDonald and Katie Louise Ware, who gave up their Sunday to staff this table and recruit for the Washoe County School District. I know that's a big sacrifice, and that doesn't go unnoticed. So I wanted to point that out. I also had the opportunity to attend the Mariposa ribbon cutting ceremony and the Pine Middle School community meeting as well, and look forward to some upcoming school visits. So thank you.
So while JJ gets my things up, just a couple things I want to say, because there is, just so the public understands, there's no dialogue in between. You can, yeah. So first, Maya, bathroom safety is one of my love languages. So right on with that. Truly, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. And then to Trustee Phoenix, I am very curious if there could be like an offsite in Disney with this. And you also made a quote, 0 to Hero, which because of my love with Disney, I know is actually one of the songs in Disney's Hercules movie, 0 to Hero. That is how much I love all that. So thank you. I participated in a Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Governing Board meeting on behalf of the board. And then I also attended the Art of Childhood event in benefit of the Children's Cabinet, and we can play the little GIF. Vice President Mayberry was there, but he had left before things got real fun, and that's what you're seeing right there with Clerk Woodley and Trustee Colleen Westlake. That was a ton of fun. My second pick, I know, right? Can you not love that? My next photo is, there's two photos here. I was very honored to attend the signing of SB 460, which was Nicole Canizaro's Educate Act that she brought forward in partnership with the governor. I really want to thank the Clark County School District for their hospitality while I was there, and also got to see one of their brand new schools that they had rebuilt. So that was really wonderful. Next pick is the ornament decorating. Again, Vice President Mabry was there, but it wasn't there when we took this photo. But Commissioner Clara Andriola invited our school district to participate in the creation of 10,000 ornaments, because this year's national holiday tree is coming from our very own forest right here outside of Carson City, the Humboldt Toby Forest. So that was really amazing. I also attended the community meeting for the new elementary school in the Smithridge area, which is how I'm going to refer to it. One of my takeaways at that meeting was exactly how confusing it is when we keep referring to it as Pine Middle School or even the school that's being built. So I'm going to start using new language around that to say the elementary school in the Smithridge area, because that was one of my takeaways. I spoke to the Reno High government classes with Trustee Nicolette, and then had my first school visit of the year with them. Also had a school visit at Pine Middle School, which is in its last year. And that was really special to see how that school is coming together to honor it in its final year as continuing on in that middle school space. I attended the state of the county, and then the picture you see here is the ribbon cutting for the expansion of Mariposa Academy. Very much a congratulations to them. And then last but not least, I want to bring attention to an amazing opportunity in our community that's offered every year, and that is the $100,000 Dolan Class Project. Submissions are open now for classroom and school project awards potentially, and so everyone has the ability to submit for those by September 24th. And so thank you to all of our community partners. All right, so that closes item 4.02 and now brings us to item 4.03, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Smith. So we're going to try to take a little different run at things this afternoon. We're going to preview for all of you a video that will be about to go public here. It is very near and dear to my heart. It's at Spanish Springs High School. It is around the teaching and training program where our students are getting hands-on experience by running a preschool. We're really happy with this program, the expansion of this program. It has been around for quite some time, and so we wanted to just shine a little light on it. I think that JJ is ready, and so we'd like to share this with you before it goes out to everyone else.
Every day at Spanish Springs High School, students in the teaching and training program get hands-on experience in a working preschool, learning how children grow, learn, and prepare for kindergarten.
I've been in the program for 4 years. It matters to me because I like seeing the kids every day and like the smile that they have.
Kaya Claiborne says the program helped her find purpose, a sense of community, and to learn new skills.
You have to adapt to kids. They are younger. They don't understand how to regulate their emotions. You have to help them with that.
The preschoolers are learning more than social skills. They're following a real curriculum led by teacher Andrea Hansky.
So we follow Nevada Pre-K standards, which were just revised in 2023. So my students who plan lessons, all of the level 2 students plan lessons that are based upon those Nevada Pre-K standards. So we are truly getting those kiddos ready for kindergarten.
Many of the high school students take these lessons with them into education, medicine, and even law.
Knowing how other people think and like with little kids and how they like get information is definitely going to help me with like understanding how other people think and how they like come to their decisions. It also has helped me like with my confidence and being able to talk in front of people.
At Spanish Springs High School, students are building futures, one lesson and one little learner at a time.
And I actually have some former students of mine that are graduating UNR, getting jobs and becoming teachers in Washoe County School District. So it's super exciting to see the full circle.
All right.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Superintendent Ernst. All right, that closes item 4.03 and brings us now to section 5, our closing items. Item 5.01, our closing public comment. JJ, who are we welcoming today?
Jenny DeMonte.
Welcome, Ms. DeMonte.
Even wrote something down. Hi, my name is Jenny DeMonte, and I'm here from Indivisible Northern Nevada. Shirts. Yeah. We are a grassroots, volunteer, nonpartisan, policy-focused organization dedicated to making sure our public servants work for the people. Our group is focused on government at all levels, and I'm specifically focused on local education policies and activities. I'm organizing our group that will be attending trustee meetings and discussing district policies. Mostly, we're here to listen. We may comment on agenda items and other district activities when we decide they are relevant to our mission. But right now, we're happy to be here. Glad to be hearing about what's going on in our schools. I am a brand new proud grandmother of a 4-week-old who's I used to have all the schools, but now I can just remember McQueen. So let's keep it up, kids, because I've got real fish to fry here. But thank you so much for your help, your work. It's all good.
Thank you very much, Ms. DeMonte. We appreciate your engagement. You're very, very welcome here.
Dr. Powell.
Welcome. Is that Dr. Howell?
Powell.
Powell.
Please
Welcome.
excuse my appearance. I've rushed here straight from school.
Welcome, Dr. Powell.
Well, thank you. Let's begin. Greetings. I present my case before you with sincere respect. I begin with some background about myself, which is relevant to this petition. I am Ray Powell. I teach freshman English at Spanish Springs High School. I received my doctorate in education from the University of Tokyo in 2003, and I've been teaching ever since. I began my teaching career as associate professor at Notre Dame University in the Philippines, and I moved to China, where I taught at one of the most prestigious schools in southern China. After 10 years in their English department, I was asked to become one of their directors. I taught English as a second language, AP, IB, and university prep. This was a small school with only 19,600 students and 400 teachers. In China, that's a small school. My last 5 years in China, I was a host and chief examiner of China's CCTV 5 National English Speaking Competition with over 2,000 entries from around China. And I'm proud to say that many of my students placed in the top 10. I brought my family to America to begin a new life. We moved to Las Vegas because my wife from China is an elementary teacher, and we wanted to have her social network. Once in the educational system, we both suffered from extreme culture shock. There's no comparison between Asia and America, and I say this with no malice. After less than a year, I realized I had to get my family out of Vegas. I've prayed for years to come up here. Forgive me. I've already been cautioned by the school district not to mention my Christian beliefs with anything relating to my job. I believe that all my teaching experience would be accepted at Washoe County School District like it had been in Clark County. However, after I began at this school, I was told that my educational experience overseas would not be accepted. I believe that my teaching certificate issued by the Chinese Ministry of Education was equivalent. Yesterday, I went to the Nevada Department of Education, and they assured me that it meets all standards. I want so much to continue my career here at Washoe County. I only ask that my years of experience and dedication be accepted and placed. According to the National Education Association, last year Nevada ranked number 50 in school education. Nevada also tops the nation with teacher shortages. I have a strong desire to do my part to make change. When asked by my school's vice principal what was my goal, I told her I wanted all of my students to be ready for 10th grade. I believe one of the key factors is teacher retention is their salary. CCSD placed my salary at $146,000 a year. Now, since I've started at Washoe, I'm being offered around $60,000. This is a very hard pill to swallow. I've told you about myself because I believe it's relevant, and I ask that any member of this council wishing for me to remain in this district and teach to personally speak with me after this meeting. I want to thank all of you for your time. It means a lot to me that you listened.
Thank you so much, Dr. Powell.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you so much. That closes item 5.01 and brings us now to item 5.02, our next meeting announcement. That is September 23rd, 2025. And I will also take a brief point of privilege on this item as well, which is to call ahead to the meeting schedule in November 2025. We will have one meeting that month, and that's on Tuesday the 18th. We will properly notice that, but it does fall a little bit different than our traditional pattern. So I will announce that at future meetings, but I know many of us plan ahead, and so I just wanted to say something about that a couple months in advance. So that closes item 5.02 and now brings us to item 5.03, nearly our favorite after some of the items we had earlier today, adjournment at 4:43 p.m. Thank you.